Hello, everyone. Welcome into episode 40 of the Four Quarters podcast powered by Four Quarters Media. I'm your host, Tyler Bennett, here with you once again. Episode 40 is our CCAA women's basketball spotlight show. Would have been all one show, but again, if you listen to the men's basketball CCAA Cross Canada spotlight show, it turned into a spotlight series because I didn't plan well enough, and After Effects only allows you to make a video up to 3 hours. These 5 interviews you'll hear now far exceed combined 3 hours. So that didn't work out. So we had to adapt on the fly. So each episode will hear this same intro. We'll have its own kind of moment to shine, if you will. 5 coaches from across the CCAA and a player in this one as well. 1 coach from each conference, and then we're joined by a player in Quebec in the RSEQ. But with the men's, we went from east to west, and this one, we're going west to east. Start off in the Pac West, joined by Camosun Chargers women's basketball head coach Justin Thiessen. We looked at his career coaching over in China, how he ended up going to China in the first place, what ultimately led him to coming back to Canada, applying for the Camosun job, ultimately getting the job with the Chargers, and kind of what went into his first season with the Chargers, and hindsight, some things maybe he would do differently, and just looked at the entire vibe around the program and kind of the direction he wants to take that. So really fun chat with Coach Thiessen to kind of get this women's basketball spotlight series / show started. And then in part 2, we work our way back towards the East Coast. We go to the ACAC, joined by Briarcrest College women's basketball head coach Anthony Skeppel. Again, similar kind of chat, looking at his career, again, taking over the program, heading into this season, kind of what that adjustment's been like for him. Taking over a program in a pandemic is never easy. Kind of what his approach has been to recruiting, getting the girls in the gym, just taking over a program has its own challenges to begin with. And then you add a pandemic on top of it, and you can't recruit, and you can't go out and see players live because there's no live games. Kind of the challenges that have come with the pandemic and taking over a program. And we had a great chat on kind of growing the game as well, and the coverage. And that's a theme that you're going to see in all 5 of these interviews, is how we can grow the game better. And especially from a women's basketball standpoint, how can we get the level of respect, admiration, attention to where it deserves to be? And all 6 of the guests, gave fantastic insights, gave fantastic opinions, fantastic suggestions. And Coach Skeppel was no exception. And then in part 3, we head to Ontario. We go to the OCAA. We take a stop at Redeemer, chat with head coach Jesse Van Houwelingen out of the Redeemer Royals. We look at the family culture that himself and assistant coach Pat Ivaroni have tried to instill in the women's basketball program for the Royals. And it's a theme that you see right through the entire university. The entire athletics department breathes one family. And with the hashtag Royal Family, and they embody a family culture from top to bottom, any which direction. Every team is a part of that family. And you tie in the community support that Ancaster brings out on a nightly basis to a home game. That gym is one I think any basketball fan should witness. Hands down. Go see a Redeemer home game. Aesthetically, it won't really do much for you, but when you get in there with a crowd, oh, my goodness. And you'll hear the story again of the reading week game that I was at. That was a packed house. And we looked at kind of the culture that they hope to build. And Coach Van Houwelingen also shares how they've changed their leadership approach within the team. And I found that to be rather interesting. And I think a lot of coaches and players may start to use that in their system to try and maximize the number of players that have a voice in their systems. Then we go to Quebec. Our two-guest interview in part 4 of this 5-part series. We talk with head coach Bernard Tanguay and second-year forward Clara Bergeron from the program of Geants du Saint-Jean. I'm not French, so I practiced to say that. I tried to say it as fast as I could so nobody can call me out. Geants du Saint-Jean. Sounds pretty good to me. Probably sounds terrible when I listen back. But the three of us kind of really wanted to put a spotlight on Quebec basketball and the CEGEP system and kind of how that differentiates itself from high school basketball around the country and how it better prepares you almost for making the jump to U Sports or NCAA institutions, because you do come out as a bit of an older student athlete, a bit more mature. You've had the independence of going to a CEGEP system. So it was interesting to hear more about kind of the dynamic, what goes into playing and attending a CEGEP program from both a coaching perspective, from Coach Tanguay, who's been with the program now 18 seasons, and Clara Bergeron, who is in her second, but is being heavily recruited by almost a dozen NCAA schools. And it was interesting to hear from both Tanguay and Bergeron of how the pandemic has forced them to adapt, how they recruit and are recruited. So that was fun as well, just to hear how they've had to adapt and adjust on the fly, if you will. And then we end this CCAA Women's Basketball Cross Canada Spotlight Series in the ACAA. Chat with Mount St. Vincent Mystics head coach Mark Forward. Again, shining a spotlight on the women's game. He has seen it all at the Mount. He's been a part of the men's program. He's been a part of the women's program. He has seen success as a player and as a coach. So we just really looked at his experiences, and whether he liked it or not, I don't know, because a lot of coaches don't like the spotlight so much. I put it on him a little bit to understand more of who Coach Forward is as a person, how his coaching philosophy has adapted over the years. He touched on the impact that Derek McDermott has had on his career and the program. Just all in all, really interesting chat. And we tried to get some of the keys to the sustained success of the Mystics women's basketball program. He didn't give them all out. You had to keep some obviously close to your heart. You don't want to give everything away, what makes you a winning program. But he gave us some good insight into what's allowed that program to be as successful as they have been in the ACAA. So whether you're on part 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 right now, the interview that's coming ahead is going to be fantastic. I think you're gonna learn a lot about the coaches, their programs, women's basketball as a whole, and you're going to get some fantastic ideas at the end of each one on how to really grow the game and how we can all kind of work together to get that level of coverage, attention, respect, not only around CCAA and U Sports, but around women's basketball as a whole. And that was the focus of this. So with all of that said, get set for now the interview with myself and whoever is scrolling along the subject line of this episode that you've clicked on. And hopefully you enjoy it. Cheers. All right. Now, thrilled to be joined by our two featured guests from Quebec in the RSEQ on our CCAA Women's Basketball Spotlight Show from the women's basketball program, the Geants du Saint-Jean. Hopefully that was well enough. I listened to a video beforehand of a guy saying it about 10 times. Head coach Bernard Tanguay and forward Clara Bergeron. Folks, how are things on your guys' end before we jump in? I guess, Coach, we'll start with you. How are things on your end?
Things have been good, considering missing the team every single day, but everybody's doing good. So we can't. We'd like to have a little bit more basketball, but that's the situation we're in right now. So
right
with it, and so for now, we're doing okay. Very happy to be with you and to get a chance to talk basketball with you today. So thanks for having me on today.
And Clara, same with you. How are things on your end? I know we talked a bit before we jumped on, but how are things with everything on your end?
Yeah, well, I obviously miss the gym and I miss basketball, but I keep up with school and my family is healthy, so that's really all that matters.
I think right now we just have to take the wins that we get, whether it's family health, just doing what we're able to do, because who knows how long this is going to go. I'm itching for everybody to get back into a gym because, everybody's just missing the game in every facet of it. Practice. This is the one time that you miss practice because you want to run those lines because it means you're in a gym.
Yeah.
In this chat, kind of like we said before, I kind of want to shine as much light on kind of Quebec basketball, what you guys are doing as well, just because I don't think Quebec gets enough attention outside of Quebec. So kind of want to start off with the program as a whole. And Coach, I'm going to start with you, having spent the amount of time you have with the program, 17 years, making the jump to Division I last year. How have you seen kind of the program evolve over your years there?
Seen it grown pretty much over 17 years because we started the program from scratch. So
okay.
There wasn't a basketball program here. So
right. Okay.
Yeah, we built it from the ground up. Started actually in a Division III program there for a year. Won that, went on to Division II. We wanted to build something that has a solid base and the structure that could be sustainable for years. And we wanted to not only compete but win and create like a winning tradition that we'd keep on going for years and years. And we did that in Division II. And the next step for us was Division I. We didn't want to jump into Division I just to make the jump, but we wanted to be prepared. We wanted to make sure that we would be able, at some point, we'd be able to enjoy the same success in Division I.
Right.
So for that, we built it in the past 5-6 years. We've been preparing for D1 and the way we structured our program, the way we build something that's sustainable. And even one day, if I'm not there, that the program is solid enough that somebody can carry on that tradition because there's a base there.
Right.
Be there for years and for ballers as well to succeed.
Yeah, so I guess you have really seen it evolve from literally nothing to what it is now. There's been no one really, you've been there the entire time. This is a kind of a question, I guess, for everybody outside of Quebec, because it's a little bit different than what we have in our system. How do you kind of progress up from Division III to Division II? Is it based on success of previous years, or is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes and no. Yes and no. From D3 to D2, it's just a matter of wanting to get in the league.
Okay.
AD at the time said, well, can you show us that you can win in that Division 3 that I don't even think exists anymore?
Mm-hmm.
As for D1, it's a whole other structure. You have to, it's not only a success thing, but it's a program structure thing, a recruiting thing, also show that you can recruit outside of your region, which is something we had done a whole lot in Division II. We've had girls from all over Quebec and even outer Quebec, even when we were in D2. So we have a structure that was based for that. And also we started a youth development program, a local youth organization, to make sure that we would have a a good base of our pyramid to make sure that when we move up, we'd have local talent here that was also in Division One. So it's a structure thing, and the other part of it is that there's a financial part of it as well. The CEGEP has to sign off on the budget of the whole league because it's different. It's a Canadian league, so it's not just a regional league. So the financial aspect as well. The CEGEP made a very big commitment on that, seeing our success, seeing how we're ready. So that was part of it.
Okay. So there's quite a bit that goes into it then to kind of get that jump from not only Division 3 to 2, but then 2 up to 1. Clara, for you then, making that jump this year to Division 1, playing against a lot of that top talent in the province, how did that kind of help you develop your game playing against some of the top players in the province?
Well, it was my first year of CEGEP, so playing against the top talent in the province as a rookie was definitely a challenge, but it made me progress as a leader. I learned how to be a better leader for my team for the future, for the next year, and it really bring up my game to the next level. So, yeah.
I think you see a lot of players from Division One making that jump, especially from Dawson. Several players going to the States, so it kind of brings out the best in you, and because obviously you want to compete against the best, and they kind of are the ones that grab a lot of the Quebec headlines when they go down south of the border. So, what was it like for you then to play against some of those caliber of players, and especially in your first year as a rookie, no less?
It was like I said, it was definitely challenging, but I really liked it. It really helped me to become a better player, and to learn new skills and to push myself harder and harder, because I knew that I had to just push myself and just be better for the team. So, yeah.
And I'll go off that then. Obviously, you get kind of both of your thoughts on how the first year in Division One went as a whole. You guys finished 5-11. You first win came out of the way on the 18th. So second game of the year, got that out of the way early. Just kind of overall, how you guys thought the season went. Memorable moments, highlights, kind of whatever you guys want to share on the first year. I guess, Clara, maybe we'll start with you.
Well, it was definitely a good thing to start a brand new program. So, like, we had expectation about the program, but at the same time, we did not reach our goals, but we still made a pretty big step into the program as a Division One. So I'm really happy about that.
Coach, anything you want to add there?
No, I think Clara is spot on. We had obviously. I don't even remember the last time a D1 team, a new D1 team, made the playoffs. So that was one of our main objectives. Usually teams that get into D1, if they win a game, it's okay. We were very, very competitive, but we lost a couple of close games that we feel we could have gotten. But for me, it was a growing experience as well as a coach. What was unique of our team and our last year's team, for me, coaching over 20 years, was for me a unique group in the sense that they jumped in and they said, "We'll start that with you, coach." It's unique, and it was also the first year we could have, let's say, access to the kind of talent that players like Clara bring. But our quote unquote best players and our leaders to be were our youngest player. So that was an adjustment for us. Our leaders that had won championship with us in D2, we had some good leaders that were there with us as second and third year. It was also a dynamic that was unique because they had to lead, but at the same time leave a bit of room for those young girls coming up that were a big part of our program. So that was a unique learning experience for me, for sure, dealing with bringing all those girls together. And it took us a little bit. I think after Christmas, we really, really gelled as a team. Like everybody knew a bit more their role, not only on the court, but off the court and leadership wise. We would have liked to have one or more win.
Right.
maybe one more.
Mm-hmm.
But we showed that we were, after Christmas, we were in all the games, even the top tier programs in the league. We gave games to everybody. But yeah, close games. We didn't have our third year players having the ball in the hand like other veteran programs. We had the ball in Clara's hands. She was a rookie and she did amazing for us after Christmas. But also it was a learning experience for her as well, and for the coaches. So I don't regret anything. I think we showed that, we had our spot there. Everybody that watched us play really saw that we were not only competitive, but a serious, formidable adversaries, not just last year, but for years to come.
Yeah, like you mentioned, when you see a team, whatever sport it is, make that jump up a division, it never usually goes that well that early. And let alone, like you guys said, you lost a few of those close games, but you don't usually see a team make a jump and be that competitive from the start. And obviously there were the learning curves early on, trying to figure out and make the adjustment to playing the top tier in the province. But like you said, after Christmas, every game you guys were in, the team gelled, found their role. That doesn't usually happen that quick for a team making a jump up to the top tier with the younger players, like you said, you had as well.
Mm-hmm. But that's where our leaders are in D2 and the structure that we had built with them in D2, because we weren't really a D2 program at the end. Like, we played in the D2 league, but our whole academic and practice structure and us training year round was really something that mirrored what we wanted to have in D1. So we didn't want to just start something brand new. So we built something there. So our veterans were also used to that. They played those teams at exhibition and tournaments. They went to the States. So our players were not as shocked to get into that league, but the pressure in that league, the talent on an everyday basis is different. Now there's no nice try, but you lose kind of thing when you play an exhibition game or tournament game against a D1 team. Now it's just a regular season loss. So
yeah,
that's a different feeling.
Yeah, and now the only way to gain experience is to obviously play the game. So now you guys have that year under your belts. Now have a better idea of what it takes to be competitive night in and night out and see that talent as opposed to the odd exhibition game. And now you guys will be better for it and next year and just look to grow. And it all traces back to, like you said, that foundation you've built from day one, building that structure and building the foundation. So it just continues to build every year from Division 3 now to 1, and then now from just missing the playoffs to competitive, and 5-11 to contending for a provincial title every year.
Yeah, the other factor also is that we had great talent coming in.
Right, that's true too. That always helps a little bit too. It makes it a bit easier for the transition.
You bring in an athlete like Clara, like Angélie, like Annabelle, our rookies last year were rookies that were ready to play. That's also a luxury that we had.
Right.
Girls were not only we're happy they trusted us and said we're coming in, but also they knew they would have that more responsibility and whatnot. But they also knew that they were coming to win games. And
right.
So talent level, I feel we had very good talent coming in as well. As far as our first year of recruiting.
Yep.
Yeah, we didn't come in scared. We just came in and we were ready to fight, and we were just ready to push ourselves in practice and games. And we took before Christmas as like a little bit of an adjustment, and after Christmas we were ready to really compete in this season. So.
Yeah, it takes a bit of time to kind of get your feet wet and see what you're going up against. And Coach, like you said, the younger talent that you guys had come in, Clara, Angélie, the list goes on. The part of the reason why I was excited to do this one as well in particular is because the level of attention, we'll get to that later, just wasn't there. And I think if more people looked at Quebec basketball as a whole and could see the level of talent that's there, this is kind of why I'm doing this, just to get more eyeballs to everything that everyone's doing. But there was a lot of talent, a lot of young talent that you guys had that you've mentioned over and over that really didn't get the light that it deserves, and was a key factor, like you said, in kind of helping that transition go a lot better than most first-year programs have. Looking now, obviously the pandemic has kind of thrown some curveballs both your ways. I know you guys are both
Might say that.
just a bit. It's forced us to rely a lot more on online, Zoom, not in person. But in terms of recruiting for both of you guys, I know it's probably made things rather difficult in a sense, a lot different. I guess for both of you, Coach, I'll start with you then. Recruiting players to come to the program, how have you had to kind of adapt your own recruiting process without having the ability to kind of see players in person and kind of get the eye test, if you will, to evaluate players that way?
Well, luckily, a lot of the things that go into recruiting go into long-term recruiting,
right?
Which means we identify players, years before.
Mm-hmm.
We have a pretty good idea this year, for example, like we don't necessarily need to see some of the players. We've been following players for a couple of years back. So that's one thing, that identification of athletes, not too tough, but finding that hidden gem sometimes, yes, absolutely. You go to a tournament, you see a player and say, oh, wow, I didn't see that girl before. She got so much better during the summer. So the improvement part, or players that you say, that player, I think she could be something, and she works on her game during the summer and we don't get to see her. So that playing was tough. As far as the new ways of, with technology and whatnot, I think it's something that's good in ways, because the first introduction with families and all of that, I think it's something that can easily be done via, technology. Parents don't always have time to go to tournaments. And sometimes we talk to athletes in tournaments and we want introduction to our programs between two games and tournaments or things like that. I think we can learn from their situation right now, where I'll go to a game, I'll say, hey, how's it going? We'll introduce, and I'll get back to you, and we'll set up a family thing where it's okay. Your parents, they get off work, we meet like we're meeting right now. And I can use technology to introduce a program in depth, but from the comfort of your own home. So I think that's something that's going to stay for the future. But to be honest, there's nothing that replaces the vibe of our practices and our practices and the vibe and the cheers of our crowd during a home game. That's something that we can't replicate. And even if I send videos to athletes for recruiting, the vibe in our gym and seeing our girls practice is something that we just can't duplicate. And even if I send you a video, you don't have that vibe, that chemistry, that sound per se. So that's the tough part. But as far as technology, I think it brings I think it's something that's positive and that we'll keep for the future for sure.
I don't think videos do it justice, like you said. Like there's just something about walking into a gym, feeling the energy, like it's full of people, and the videos, I guess, kind of do it to a sense, but you don't get that feeling like you're right a part of everything. And like words only do so much. Like it's another thing to kind of show them the entire gym, like the locker rooms, what have you. I mean, pictures won't do any of that justice. And I mean, videos like this will kind of close the gap in terms of travel, like you said, for the family side of it, the introductions. But like,
also how the coaches handle a practice as well.
Right, that too.
So that's a part where some of them they've seen us in camps, they've seen us coach if they came to a game, but to see our coaching staff work a practice, and if the athletes are serious about, and it's a big decision for them, they're serious about their basketball, they're going to be serious about what's going on every single day in that gym.
Right.
So the coaching staff run a practice, a full practice, their voice in practice, what's the vibe in practice, what's the message in practice, what are their values in practice, so all those things, that's the toughest part. And to be honest, that's the toughest part for the athletes.
Right.
The coaches, I'll tell you, and then I'll show you videos. But as an athlete, like as a player myself, I wanted to know what was the vibe like? You know, will I have that vibe? You know, it's you get into the gym and say, yeah, I see myself here. And other gyms maybe say, you know, maybe not for me. So that's the toughest part would be for the athletes.
Yeah, that's how I feel in my recruiting process right now. So yeah.
And I think it's also too, like, it's one thing to feel the vibe from the coaches. It's also another thing to see the vibe from the players in practice too, like the energy level. If they're just kind of dragging their feet and not really kind of responding to what the coach says, that's probably not an environment that players want to bring themselves to. So that they get a feel for kind of how the players react to the coach just as much as the coach leads the practice and gets the vibe on both sides of things.
Yep.
Clara, then for you, obviously with the recruiting process, looking at schools south of the border as well. I know the program put out an Instagram about 3 weeks ago. You've got interest from several schools down south. How has that process been for you then with everything going on? How have you guys kind of navigated those challenges to try and continue looking at options after CEGEP is done?
Well, I think I was really lucky to have been able to play in tournaments that brought me NCAA visibility in the past with the CEGEP, because then I had a chance to get recruited even with the pandemic going on.
Okay.
And challenges, of course, I'm not able to go and actually visit the schools and see the vibe like you guys said. But what we did to improve that is that we made Teams call or Zoom calls, and I saw we FaceTime the whole school and the gym and practices. So yeah, that's how we kind of outgrew the challenge. But yeah.
Just kind of, there's just one person on the other end just kind of touring the whole campus with an iPad in front, and just away you go. I mean, you kind of got to make the best of it as much as you can. I mean, it's obviously this is probably the worst timing possible for. I mean, I don't think there's ever a good time for a pandemic. Let me clarify that now. But I think just with everything, kind of March is like peak, kind of building for the next season, and then the world just stopped. So I was curious to see kind of how you guys were able to navigate kind of yourself looking at south of the border and how they were able to kind of show you what they have to offer. Were you able to visit any of the schools before you went down, or was it before the pandemic, or was it all kind of post COVID and just this is all you know at this point?
Yeah, all I have is videos, and it's obviously not the same vibe, so it's kind of really hard for me to choose and to make a decision. But I think I will just try and keep looking at the practices on Teams and keep talking to the coaches on the phone and see how they can bring me to the next level as a basketball player.
I think both of you guys have said a lot of this now relies on technology. I can see this, coach, like you said, this is going to stick around for a while. I think even once this kind of weakens a bit and the restrictions kind of lift, I think we still might see a lot of players in a similar situation to you, Clara, where they are looking to visit schools, but they do a lot more of those virtual tours because, one, financially it saves money traveling down for a weekend. Obviously, yes, there's the pros and cons. You don't get that vibe, but the access, I mean, it really bridges a lot of those gaps and brings everybody closer without actually having to physically travel to different schools. And I mean, your list, you had Penn State, Alabama, DePaul, there's lists, they're all over the place. So it's not like they're all close. You can see multiple in a weekend. There's some travel plans in there. So I think this is going to really help to bridge those gaps that we didn't really consider before.
I think people are going to get better at it too.
Right.
Get better at doing online recruiting and making sure the experience of a live practice and a live team meeting, and because everybody looks good in the highlight, right? Everybody, all the coaches smile, but it's just not the reality. Sometimes, you're going to have some tougher times, and the weight room. So I think people are coaches and programs, and they have all the technology. I'm not worried about NCAA GMs having access to ideas and how to make that experience feel a bit more real and not something that you put together in a video reel. So I think we can grow from that. But as an athlete, and for Clara's lucky, she still has time. Has a bit of time. Like if ever we get to play next summer, whether it be in the States or here, then she'll get extra looks, extra visibility, whether it be us sharing videos of her game, and then we're probably going to get a season next season. So that's another thing. But for players graduating this year, that's very tough.
Yeah, those players who are graduating this year, like it's again the worst possible time for the world to essentially shut down for 7 months. And yeah, I mean, hopefully people get better at the technology side. And I mean, like you said, highlights are one thing. Like nobody misses a shot in highlights. Coaches always smile. Yeah, but I think there's definitely a way to make it as authentic as possible. Feel the vibe as much as you can. See the gym at all angles. There's definitely ways I think we can improve on it all and just continue again with the foundation. It ties back to the program. The foundation's been set for technology. Just continue to grow and build off what we have and make everybody kind of better for it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I want to shine some light on kind of the program as a whole and kind of what makes you guys and the Geants program special, because the whole goal of this for me was to kind of give the platform and highlight the program and the school as a whole. So I guess I'll leave this to both of you. You can decide who answers first. Not picky on this one. What should people know about the school and the program that they may not know already?
Want me to start, Clara?
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's two things. For the campus, so student athletes, they get a chance to be on a campus that really prepares them for the next level, in the sense that most people that are there, we're a smaller campus. We're not that far from the city. We're about 25 minutes from the city. You're not that far from your house, but you have that feel, that prep school feel, if you want, of what it will be like when you really leave home and go, to university and really be on your own, in a sense. Most of our girls, they travel, but they go back on the weekends at their house. So getting ready and getting that growth and that maturity process going on a bit quicker. That one for the campus. But the most important thing for me is the student athlete experience. So most of our teams, we're a CEGEP that's very driven in sports. We have a lot of sports teams, but what makes it unique is that most of these athletes, they don't come from our city. Most of these, they come from all over the place, all over Quebec. So they all have that link together, that same experience where, okay, I'm out of my house for the week and I'm here focusing on my academics, on my sport, and the other weekend I go home. So that creates a student athlete community, if you want, that's very tight. And I think that's why we have such amazing crowds at all our games, whether it be a doubleheader with the boys or even a Friday night where it's women's basketball. The gym is packed because the whole football team's there, the volleyball team's there. So there's a community, and same thing when there's a football game around, everybody's there. So that mini campus, and that something that's present almost everywhere south of the border, that little school, everybody goes to the game. So the student athlete experience for me is something that's really, really unique. Everybody's on campus, everybody's around.
Anything you want to add to that, Clara, that stands out to you of what people should know about either the program or the school they may not already know?
Yeah, well, I totally agree with Bern. All what he said about the dorms and the place we have is really great. And I think also it helps us to get like more mature, because we have like a good transition from high school to university with CEGEP that the states don't really have. So it really helps us to just get more basketball experience and life experience, be more mature, older and stuff. So I just think it's great that we have a good transition.
I think from based on what you guys have both said, I think it really promotes that, like you said, Coach, with the independence. Like you're independent 5 out of the 7 days. You have you can go home on weekends, but Monday to Friday when you're there, like you rely on yourself. And a lot of places, like I know myself going right from high school to university, there wasn't a lot of independence. I'm going to be completely honest. I was, stayed home for the first 2 years. And that was, there was no independence. So having that middle ground, having that middle ground with that kind of your independent 5 out of 7 days, I think would be a big help making that jump from high school to university.
Yeah, I think it's a unique structure, not only for our campus, but our league.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a unique structure in the sense that it is for me, it's the perfect springboard to get you ready for the next step. You finish a bit older, you're a bit more mature. And if you really take your 2 or 3 years here seriously, physically, you're more prepared, mentally, mm-hmm. a lot more mature, and and also let's not forget, CEGEP school is not easy. So it's tough. The classes are tough. So it gets you to be a good student as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it forces you to be serious in their academics. And by the time you graduate, you're physically more prepared, you're mentally more prepared, your game has developed, I think, as much as it can for the next level. And that's what we promote here. That's what we build here. That's the structure we try to put together to make sure that we get Clara, we make her an even better student athlete, prepared for next step, whether that be in class. Where Clara in class does pretty well. She's pretty independent. She does her things, but getting also the regiment of every day, having those study halls, those practices, weight room, all the that pretty filled up schedule, mm-hmm. is something that we have, and something that most CEGEP have actually. So I think it's super as a springboard, as a stepping stone to the big adventure where you're on your own and at university. So
yeah, and the universities, like fresh out of high school, like they're intimidating as all can be. And having that kind of springboard to, like you said, develop mentally, physically, everything else. You are, yes, maybe a little bit older going into first year university, but you have kind of that system, that foundation of what it takes to be successful at the next level. And I think, especially in Canada, we put an emphasis on that student part of it first, more so than the States do, I think. And to have that solid foundation already built going into university, whether it is Canada, the States, international for that matter, that kind of puts you a leg up in the classroom already because you have that solid foundation of tougher classes at the CEGEP level, and you're a bit more, essentially more mature going in.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else on Saint-Jean or that you guys want to touch on, shine light on, before we get into kind of growing the coverage? And I want to ask one about the crowds at Quebec basketball games, because I've seen videos and I don't think it does it justice, but they get packed in gyms.
Clara, you want to talk about our crowds or?
Well, at Saint-Jean, we have a pretty big crowd because all the teams come and see us. The boys basketball team, some volleyball teams and football teams, they all come and see us. We're pretty close with each other. So, we get big crowds and it gets a good vibe. And it just feels really good to play in that environment.
I think, again, it ties into, like you said, Coach, with the visits and having people and see the crowd in person. I think that is a big selling point probably for a lot of people, because you want to play in front of a lot of people. And I mean, I've seen videos online, people standing behind the nets in the back, and it gets packed.
Yeah, well, our gym, it gets pretty loud. Our program has been waiting for a little bit now, so we we had very good crowds when we were in D2 as well. So, yeah, they do everything from horns to those blow up heads there. They cut out, the heads for free throws and drum rolls, and yeah, they get hyped. We got a very nice facility there. It's a bit of a smaller gym, so everybody gets packed. People are really close. So yeah, I think it's fun to play in front of a crowd. I think we have a real home gym too, so that's fun.
What is it about Quebec, like basketball in Quebec, that just kind of brings everybody out? Because I don't know if it doesn't matter what gym it is. It seems like people just come out in hordes to watch.
We're just really passionate about it. We're passionate about basketball. Everyone wants to watch every game. That's all we do. We just watch basketball all the time. So.
Whatever you guys are doing to get people out, which doesn't seem like you need to do a lot. People just kind of show up and watch. We need to steal that in Ontario. I will be flat honest. Like there are some games where it's quiet. It's like a Saturday and there's maybe 100 people in a gym, and it's not loud at all. So whatever you're doing, can we borrow some of it, please?
Absolutely.
I think
come play. I think Ontario needs to come and play a bit more.
Yeah, I agree.
In Quebec, a little bit more.
100%.
Yeah, but no, people are. I think there's that attachment, that link with the league, and I think also a lot of the alumni follow their team, their alma mater, a lot, and they come to games, and it's always an event. All the schools do a good job of building up those games as well, putting rivalry week, and setting up all the games coming up for the weekend and announcing double headers. And so there's a part that social media is doing better and better, but also each and every school, I think, does a good job of promoting it. And like Clara said, yeah, people are very passionate. And also, to be honest, it's a great product. People come and see good basketball, not only on the men's side, but also on the women's side. So it's just plain fun basketball to see. So that also is a good show, and doesn't cost much. Costs less than go see a Habs game.
Right. That's true. And I mean, like, you guys, I think in Quebec do a fantastic job at, again, with the rivalry games. Like it's a big deal to play provincial rivals, and you want to see those games. And the atmosphere alone is worth the price of admission. And then you add on the fact that the product is as good as it is on both men's and women's side.
Yep.
Like, I mean, you can't beat it. And I mean, if you guys are Habs fans, I'm sorry, but they haven't won much lately. So I mean, it is kind of more bang for your buck, essentially.
Yeah, it's a show. The professionals are the professionals, but
right.
For us, it's a matter of I think the games are entertaining. I think there's a lot of nice plays, a lot of shot making. I think basketball is growing, and the skills of all these players. It's a skills game now. It's a fast game now. It's a shot making game now. It's even more of a one-on-one game, but where everybody can try to beat their man game.
Right.
So that makes it interesting, and for the fans to see shot making, even from the other team, is exciting. So no, we had some very fun road games last year. We had some very fun home games last year. We're very happy. And for us, we were the new team. So we were the team that is not supposed to win a game, the team that's not supposed to compete. So we always had that little chip on our shoulder, which we enjoyed, and we could feel it in the crowd too. So that was fun.
Do you think that just sums it up? Like, Quebec basketball just seems fun. I think that's the easiest way to put it. It's just fun. And I think I need to get up there more and watch games. And by more, I just mean once at all, because it hasn't happened yet.
You're more than welcome. No problem.
I might hope
get you to our gym.
Once this all settles, I will, and we have games, I will take you up on that. I will find a way there, one way or another. I will get myself there.
Be part of the crowd.
All to be me, like right in the middle, big blow up heads and cutouts.
Yeah, we'll get you there. We'll get
drums.
you the head behind the free throw line, foam fingers and everything.
I want the full kind of the full experience. Whatever I can have to make a distraction or noise, I'm taking all of it. I'll take one of everything you guys have to offer.
Okay.
One that I ask everybody at the end, because, and again, we said it off the top, trying to shine more light on not only Quebec basketball, but just kind of basketball in Canada as a whole, because I don't think it gets nearly the attention it deserves from a national media, or just media in general. How do we get more people paying attention to men's and women's basketball in Canada? I think we've said with the crowds that Quebec has, they're kind of a bit farther ahead locally than other areas of the country with the loyal fan support. But nationally, especially in the CCAA, there's not a lot, if much of anything. So any ideas or suggestions from both of you guys, now having a coach and player's perspective, any ideas or suggestions to kind of get the level of coverage, attention, respect level, I guess, around the game to where it should be?
Well, obviously media coverage is huge.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're starting to see improvement with that. Having social media is more accessible, but also TV. For us being in the women's game, it's fun to, we're starting to see women's NCAA games on TV now. So that's something that's important. But to be honest, I think the institutions of higher learning, and I include CEGEPs and university, I think they have to make it their mission to be a lot more involved in the communities.
Right.
And so we have, like, our kids, our 8, 9, 10-year-olds, they need to be in the gym with our university, coaches and players. And it should be part of your mandate every year. And I say that, and I don't even think we do enough of that, and I'm not talking be in the gym for recruiting purposes, but be in the gym for the growth of our game.
Right.
And if you grow the game with kids, and I want those kids to have Clara as a role model when they're 10, because they see, they remember a 6'2" girl coming in and shooting in the gym and being such a nice person and whatnot. And we create that link at a young age. But for that, I don't think that our higher institutions are enough, are promoting that game. We do it a lot on social media. How can I put it? We say that social media, don't do it enough, but it's a demand. So if our kids demand it, it'll be more on social media. It'll be more on nationally televised game for sure. But for that, it's the interest of the viewers. It's the interest of the kids. So the more kids we get involved in the sport and interested in the sports, and if the kids are interested, then the parents will be asking for more basketball in their region, for more basketball on TV, for more basketball on whatever social network, and it'll grow our game. And I think that's how we need to do it. I think we have a great product. We were talking that we have great basketball games, but our players need to be in gyms, and this should be part also of every program of higher learning to be present. Like I said, not for recruiting, but just be there, just introduce the game, but not me as a coach, but Clara as a player.
Right.
So that's one of the things I think we should do a bit better to grow the game with with young kids around the country.
Clara, anything you want to add there?
Yeah, well, I agree with Bern. In the past, we didn't have a lot of visibility because we didn't have social media to help share our talent. So we had to just people kind of came to see us play and stuff, but it wasn't enough. But now that we have social media, it really helps us get visibility as Quebec players and as women basketball players in Quebec. It helps us a lot, but Bern is right. We could do better. We need to do better to just use social media and be able to share the talents we have here instead of just sharing superstar that they have elsewhere.
Right. I think one thing that's come up a few times over the times I've asked this to different coaches and players is we need to, kind of ties into what you just said, Claire, we need to celebrate kind of the athletes that stay home and play in Canada when they play in CEGEP or CCAA or U Sports just as much as the ones that go play down south, regardless of where they play and whether you're the star player, like you said, or the 12th person on the roster. You need to kind of celebrate everybody and use that platform and show, Coach, like you said, everybody doing more in the community and put that out there, because social media has no end to it. Like that can just reach anywhere you want. And I think it does fall on a lot of the higher institutions to kind of make that a priority and not just kind of, if you're out there, take a photo and post it and we're done. I think it needs to be like a consistent focal point to grow the game and to make it as big of an impact as we want to.
Of course, and give value to the great product that's Canada basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Our game is growing. You can see it internationally. But we need to put value into our U Sports Championship and our U Sports League, and of course having it, television has a lot to do with it, and of course internet has a lot to do with it. Mm-hmm. But like I said, if our base is bigger, you'll create that demand, and then it'll be on TV. The sponsors will be there if all the kids want to see it, if the parents are asking for it, and also to Clara's point, we absolutely have to promote the process of every single individual in those programs,
right?
So that people, respect the process of going to CEGEP 3 years and going to university for 4 or 5 years and being a student athlete and succeeding academically, and also showing the story of not only we're very good at promoting the superstars, and that, we always see the same 5, 6, 7 players for whatever reason, but we need to start promoting the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
As a young basketball player, if I just promote that we'll go to the men's game, that 6'9" guy who jumps through the roof, well, that's not going to be me.
Right.
A kid that maybe is a hard worker and that learned, how to shoot, and that made his spot, and that made a final 8 U Sport Championship, or that got a scholarship wherever. So mm-hmm. that's something we need to do a better job of that process. We need to share and to show, and so that people respect it. And it's not always about just the superstars, but you have a bunch of student athletes that do very well and that win championship or represent their universities and CEGEP with pride, and that has a lot of value. As a coach, that has the most value for us, because they graduate with honors. They go on to become lawyers and teachers and whatever, with or without basketball. So mm-hmm. that's also something we have to promote.
I think off of that too, but off both those points on just promoting everybody, the superstars I find they're few and far between that have that elite level talent. If you promote everybody on the roster 1 through 12, not necessarily as a basketball player either, just as the person, what their future ambitions are, whether it is a lawyer, doctor, dentist, architect, whatever it is, who knows what kid you're going to inspire and see. They're going to see such and such a player, maybe not the star, but they're on a CEGEP program or a CCAA program in a field that they're interested in. And they're going to be like, oh, I play basketball like they do. I want to be an architect like they do. I can do this. And that's going to open up. They're going to maybe want to push harder to be that person. And if we only focus on 7, 8 stars, who knows what kids are going uninspired because they didn't see someone middle of the pack that could have kind of
stuff to relate.
Exactly. And it's one of those, if you can't see it, you can't dream it, or you can't achieve it. If you don't see what these athletes are doing, you can't really inspire the next generation, and younger kids can't look up to them and be like, I want to be like them.
Absolutely.
Was there anything else either of you wanted to add in that we missed? Clara, I saw your cat go across the back. I was distracted watching it to see what it was going to do. Anything else you want to add? Does your cat want a cameo on here? Do you want to make an appearance? I'll leave the last word, I guess, to either of you before we wrap it up.
Clara?
Well, I think we talked about everything. I don't think I have something to add. Bern?
Well, first, Clara, thanks for joining me.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Well, I think the more we talk about the game, the more we help the game.
Mm-hmm.
So every single time there's a basketball conversation going somewhere, we're helping out. We're helping to grow our game. Now it's just a matter of being heard and seen and working with younger kids. Right now, women's basketball is the sport that has grown the most in Quebec in the past couple years. So we're on the right path there, but we don't want to stop. If we want to make our league and our country even better, we need to talk a bit more about our university level, our CEGEP level, and all those preparatory schools that we have, which do an amazing job with athletes.
Yeah, I think it all kind of ties back to the similar structure you had with building the program from the ground up. You need to have that solid kind of base to it. And like you said, the women's game is growing, and we just need to kind of continue building the coverage along with it to kind of keep up and give it that respect and the attention it deserves, because like you said, the game's growing and everything else kind of needs to keep up with it, so we're not kind of trailing behind and trying to catch up later on down the road. But I want to thank you both for doing this. I really appreciate you guys taking time out of your Monday evening. It is Monday evening to do this. I looked back after the first CEGEP guests on here, so thank you both for doing that. And anytime you guys want to come back on, have another basketball conversation, there's always a spot here for you guys. We'll make it happen. And I'm going to take you up on it once this ends. I'm coming up and I'm going to have the foam fingers, the big head, the drum, you name it. I'll be right in the middle of the crowd behind the free throw net.
Hey, I'll even have you take a mid-court shot at halftime if you want to win. I don't know what the prizes are, but you'll win a burger or something.
Just my pride. That's all that's on the line.
Yeah,
it's either
exactly,
good or I lose it all.
Because I want you to shoot that with the big, the big hat and the foam finger.
Okay, so that's the price. That's the price I have to pay. Then I have to wear everything and then parade out to mid-court and try to shoot with it on. Okay.
Exactly. No, but seriously, thanks for having us. I think, like I said, every time we talk basketball, it's a good thing, and I'm happy you took time, and I'm happy also you had Clara on. I think players need to have a bit more of a voice in what we do, and we need to learn a bit more about those smart student athletes that are there and that make us look very good sometimes, because they're the ones that put it in the hole and block shots. So I don't do that.
Right. Well, the pleasure was all mine. I really appreciate you guys doing this. And like I said, anytime you want to do it again, we'll make it happen for you.
We will.
Well, thank you so much for inviting us, and I look forward to seeing you at our games next season.
I will be there. I'll be there early, ready to. I'm going to work on my shot now. I'm just going to add more stuff to me as the days go on to train for my half court shot with whatever you guys have in store for me. I'm looking forward to this.
Super.